Yo, what's good everybody and welcome back to another video. So today's Friday, the last trading day of the week, and today we closed out the week with a very nice trade with gold. And the best part about this trade here is that I was not the only one to take it. The VIP group was not the only one to take it. We took this trade completely live. Unfortunately, I wanted to download the live video where I wanted to show you guys exactly how I broke down this trade and how exactly all of the members in there were able to profit from this trade. But the recording for the Zoom call did not record, so I'm just gonna give you guys a breakdown, explain to you guys exactly what I was looking for. So we took this trade live with the free Telegram group. So if you go here inside the Telegram group, you guys can see the trade that we called out live. So last night, this was a trade. So I'm gonna show you guys last night trade first. Last night trade, we took a sell position. As you guys can see, the profit that we end up closing now, which was $5,943. This was a sell position that we took during the Asian session, which played out very nice. This sell here was taken inside the VIP, so only VIP group were able to take out this trade. But you guys can see the setup that we took. It was a beautiful trade that we took with gold. I explained to them exactly what I was looking for. Now this morning or last night, I told everyone, hey, we're gonna have a free live trading call at 9:30. Everyone was active. Everyone was excited to jump into these live calls. So we took the live call. We joined this live call at 9:30. We ended up taking our first position 30 minutes later, which was at 10 o'clock in the morning. So we ended up taking a buy position with gold, which was called out as a buy limit at 39.72 and 39.70. Our buy limit got active. As you guys can see, this was active during the live call. You guys can see that we had the live call right over here. This was active. Literally, the way I'm going to point it out to you guys was this. We were breaking down the whole entire trade, right? The market was somewhere between these areas over here, and I had two zones marked up already. I had this fair value gap marked up, and I also had this other fair value gap marked up. I explained to them, hey, these are the two levels that we're going to be focusing on today. Since price action is already bouncing off from these levels, I'm gonna be looking for the other opposite side, right? I'm gonna explain to you guys exactly what I meant to that point. But this was one of the areas of interest, and this over here was another areas of interest. Once price action has broken underneath these exact demands or this exact fair value gap, this is exactly where I sent out the signal, which was the buy limit at 39.72 and the buy limit at 39.70. As you guys can see, literally 10 of 4, 10 of 6, we already hit the first take profit, which was 20 pips. Well, as you guys can see, the first, or we can say the first 7, 4, 5, 6, 7, the first 3 minutes, we end up hitting every single take profit level, which was at 80 pips. And the best part about this trade, like I told you guys, we took this trade live, so it's impossible for you guys to miss out. And the other possible was that I sent you guys a buy limit. So the buy limit, as soon as you guys get the signal, obviously you guys go to your MetaTrader, your trading view, whatever you guys are trading with, and you guys just simply set the buy limit. Buy limit when active, we end up hitting every single take profit. No drawdown at all. This was literally active and then straight into profit, which was beautiful. It was sniped. We end up hitting final take profit for 300 pips out of 1 to 3 risk to reward. Now, I'm going to show you guys the profit that we made in our account management that we're currently managing right now. This is one of the biggest account management that I have always, pretty much managed. And thankfully, this is a very large account. I'm going to show you guys the profit that we end up making today. This was the full profit. We end up closing out the day over $10,000. This was $10,056. Look, check this out. I don't know if you guys are able to see this. Hopefully you guys can kind of zoom in. You guys can see right there $10,060. And if you guys go here inside the settings, you guys can see that this is a live account. So this is currently the live account that we're managing. And yeah, we end up closing out over $10,056 in profit. So let's start with this live call, or let's start with this breakdown. I'm explaining to you guys exactly every single trade that we took. So the current account management that we have over, I believe it's over like 50 plus members that are invested in this PAM account. And this account here, it's a huge account. We're over $2,000 or $210,000 in this account. Let me show you guys. So this is currently the account management that we're doing right now, over $210,000, which is over 50 plus members with an account balance over 20 plus $1,000, right? I think the biggest account, we only have two big people. We have one that is over 80,000 and the other ones is over like 50 plus thousands, which is amazing. So these are private accounts that we're getting managed right now. And if I show you guys the profit that we have made over the last months, the whole entire signal, I'm also going to show you guys the results. So if we go here inside the Safari, this is currently the results of October. We have October all the way to October 10th. You guys can see that we only had 1, 2, 3, 4 losses. And you just look at the wins that we've been having. Over 3 plus R. Minimum wins are over 1 to 2 risk to reward. This was the current of last month, which was September, as you guys can see. And then we also have August. August was a little bit choppy month, but we end up closing out the month profitable. So in this current PAM account, the account started, I believe it was like somewhere between 100 something, but we end up closing out, or the whole entire month, we're currently up $56,488, as you guys can see. which is huge. Compared to my personal account, here's a funny part. Compared to my personal account is nowhere near to this amount. My personal account sits over 20,000, but we're still making good profits, right? And I do get a percentage of this PAM account here, which is dope. But this is one of the largest accounts that I have ever managed, which is over $210,000, which is great. So let's start off with the sell position that we took last night during the Asian session, which is pretty much, looking at price session from Wednesday market as well to Thursday market, early New York session, late New York session from yesterday, right? So I want you first to notice exactly this entire push that gold has been having. Obviously gold has been very bullish the past couple of days, the past couple of weeks and month. So whenever the market is bullish, right, I'm going to explain to you guys 3 ways that the market starts having reversals, right? So the 3 ways that market starts having reversal is very simple. One, we either touch a previous structure, right? So if we're looking for a buy position, let's say price session comes into an area of resistance, there is a chance that price session is going to reject and then start pushing back towards the downside. So this over here can be an idea why price session has a reversal. Another idea of another reversal is that price session has been overbought. It's been over exaggerated, right? There's a lot of exhaustion towards over here. It can also be going for the sell position. It can also be oversold and it can also be overbought. Whenever it's overbought, oversold, that means that there's a lot of buying pressure, a lot of selling pressures, right? That means that the bigger traders, right, the big traders are closing out their profits. So whenever they close out the profits, what happens there? They start pulling out money. Once they start pulling out money, that's exactly where the market starts losing the bullish volume. And that's exactly where price session is going to start dropping towards the downside, right? Another way that the market reverse is also during the news session, which is very simple. If there's positive news, negative news, the market starts going crazy either one side or towards the other sides, right? So these exact reversal patterns can happen as well with the selling precision, right? Price session can come towards an area of support, starts rejecting and starts pushing the market towards the upside, or price session can also been oversold over here. This exhausted, meaning that sellers are now taking the profits, showing us that buyer has the potential of now entering the markets, right? So it's very, very simple. So I'm going to explain to you guys exactly what I was looking for yesterday and how exactly did I anticipate taking the sell position at this exact point right over here. So check this out. On Wednesday, we came and formed a new all-time highs right over here, which is going to be set at the 40.57 zone. So notice exactly what happens over here in these type of structures, right? So this is exactly where you guys got to look at context clue. We had the push towards the upside. We formed a new all-time highs. Once we formed this new all-time highs, notice exactly how price session started selling off the market right away. So we started selling off the market right away, having the first broken structure, which is going to be, in this case, this key level, which is going to be set at the 40.30 zone. So this is the first broken structure, right? This was previous areas of higher lows, previous area of support, which price action broke underneath, came back, retested, and we formed an area of resistance, right? So this area of support over here did manage to turn into a level of resistance, right? Still wasn't 100% confirmed selling opportunity due to the fact that we still managed to respect all of these entire demand zone. This exact lows over here, price action was bouncing off from one point to another point. So we had the push, we had another push towards the upside, it came back, retested this entire structure, we rejected it, used it as an area of resistance. Price action had another sell-off, but we end up respecting these lows over here. So again, seller was still not 100% valid yet due to the fact that we were just respecting these zones. Price action started pushing the market towards the upside. We started seeing that sellers were slowly stepping into the market. You guys can see all this drawn. We have the push, but then we are respecting all of these entire key levels from the previous structure. We are pushing the market over here. Market starts pushing over here, but we're still trading above these entire structures. That's exactly why we cannot sell the market right away. So during yesterday early New York session, we had another push towards the upside, and notice exactly where we tapped into. We tapped into this area of resistance where price action immediately rejected off. You see this? Immediately rejected off. And the funny part is that we actually had a trade active in this sell position over here. We actually took a sell position yesterday, which was taken right above these highs over here, which it would have hit every single take profit. This would have been another big trade, would have hit every single take profit, but unfortunately we got stopped at a break even. So we ended up not taking that trade. We got stopped at a break even. And then we also had a buy position pending due to the fact that we were respecting this key levels over here, respecting this other key levels over here, and we have broken above the structure. And on top of that, we're going along with the trend. So which one makes more sense, the buy position or the sell position? Obviously, the buy position is a higher probability due to the fact that we're still trading with the trend. And price action is respecting all of these entire key levels, and we have broken above all of these entire key levels. But the sell position, it was also another high probability fact, right? Because again, we were rejecting off these entire resistance. And again, we also have a lot of seller opportunity that's been trying to sell the market, right? Obviously, it just has to tap into a right area before selling off. So Once we end up losing this trade, then I started noticing that the market started pushing the market even lower. I had another limit set around these areas over here, or another limit set around the 40-30 zone, which also would have hit stop loss if I would have set that limit. So we stepped out of that trade, right? Then the market started pushing even lower, and notice exactly what we broke under. If you guys go here on the 1 hour time frame, which is the intraday level structure, you guys can see exactly that we finally broke underneath this structure. So look towards the left side. What do we notice? The left side, we have all of these previous structure. It was higher highs, higher lows, and higher lows. This was the previous higher low. We got equal highs over here. Price session has broken underneath the structure. Now, I want you guys to focus on this big fair value gap, which is this zone from this point all the way to this point. Notice this entire gap that the market dropped. You guys go here into 30 minutes. We also have another fair value gap. If you guys go here in the 15 is where it looks better. Here we have another fair value gap, which price session dropped. So these were the two areas of interest that I had marked up. And as well, if you guys look towards the other side, this was again another previous area of support where there was a one time an area where buyers stepped into the market. So again, we have this area of higher low support, pushed the market towards the downside, broke underneath all of this entire structure. We finally broke underneath, and we got the pullback towards these levels over here. We got the pullback to fill up the fair value gap from the 15, the 30, and the 1 hour time frame. That's exactly where I end up selling off my sell limit. So this is where I took the sell limit last night, perfectly aligned with the supply zone. If we go back here inside the Telegram, I'm going to explain to you guys the breakdown. So this is what I told them. During the New York session, gold rejected hard from the higher time frame zone, right? Which obviously was a major resistance zone where a lot of buyers got trapped. After that rejection, price broke under key intraday's level that was previously buyer zone / support, confirming the shift of structure, right? So like I told you guys, all of these entire key levels over here that's being held are areas of support, which price session was previous buy, right? A lot of buyers were stepping into the market there. So once we broke under that key level, my buys for the day stay sell side, right? Obviously, once we broke underneath this entire structure, this is obviously where we react and adapt. We simply react and adapt with the markets. We go back here. So I waited for price to pull back into a clean zone to sell. It was a 38.88, 39.90, where it was a high probability zone. It was a clear supply zone, and it had a fair value gap, which price session was rejecting as well with the VWAP. So again, we have this clean supply zone. We also had this clean fair value gap, and as well, notice how the VWAP was trading above this entire structure. So that's exactly where we end up taking our sell limit, which obviously, as you guys can see, played out amazing over a 104.6 risk to reward. Now, the buy position that we took this morning, very simple. We tapped once we had this entire drop towards the downside. This is where we now focus on the higher time frame structure. Intraday level structure, right? We did break underneath all of this entire intraday level structure, but what really matters the most in this case over here is the higher time frame structure, right? So again, whatever happens in the higher time frame is always going to be stronger than whatever happens on a lower time frame. So if you guys notice over here on the daily time frame, right? So let's go back over here on the daily time frame. I want you guys to notice these entire daily wick. So we have the first daily lows over here. We also have another daily low over here, and we also have another daily over here, which is today's market, right? So the daily low that price session came back towards was the low that price session formed on Tuesday. So very simple. Whenever we see that, we simply go off an intraday structure and we see exactly what happened on Tuesday. Perfect. Look what we notice over here. On Tuesday, price session build up an area of support. So we build up a support over here, which we did see some buyer pressure. Price session pulled back towards this level. We also saw another buying pressure, showing us that these levels of support, these levels of demand is being held very strong. So once again, once we got the other push towards the downside, notice exactly what we tapped into. We tapped into this structure right over here, which is this entire, higher time frame area of support, which price session perfectly rejected off. Perfectly. What do we notice afterwards? Right after we rejected off the structure, we got the push towards the upside, which was the first high. Obviously, we took the sell limit from this point over here, which was based off from the New York session, the sell side from the New York session. But then over here during the Asian session, you're right, we tapped in towards these lows. Price session started having the bullish reaction towards the upside. We sold off, we took our profit perfectly, and then notice exactly how price session once again came back towards these lows, and we swept it off. So this is exactly where we're going to start building up context clue. What is the context clue that we're focusing over here? We're focusing on how we're going to enter the market, how we're going to understand that the market is now having a shift of structure. Just because it's simply bouncing off an area of support doesn't necessarily mean that the market is going to start buying off right away. There could be chances that this support over here can now start breaking underneath, since we started respecting all of these key levels over here from the previous structure. So this is where you have to be very patient and wait for the right setup to pull up for you guys, right? So what do we notice? Over here, we noticed that these major support over here was being respected, but we're still trading under this entire structure. So again, look at this from the intraday time frame. The intraday, we're still bearish, right? Notice the intraday, we're still bearish with the market, but the higher time frame is still bullish. So at this point over here, we're just simply looking for a broken structure. The broken structure to simply break above all of these entire structures over here, which at one point over here it was used as higher as bearish structure, right? So we have this high, we have this low, we have this lower high, this low point, this lower high point. Cool, right? But then notice how on the higher time frame we're still respecting this structure right over here, we're still respecting this structure right over here, and we also formed this new higher low, which it came back to retest all of these entire block. You see this? All of this entire block. On top of that, we go back into the 4-hour time frame. We're still trading above these entire 4-hour key levels of support. Daily time frame, we're still respecting off all of these entire daily lows as well, all of these entire daily low wick. Now, worst case scenario, if price action would have broken underneath all of these entire zone, that's exactly where we can react and adapt and continue looking for sell position, but that wasn't the case. So once we end up respecting all of this during the London session, this is exactly where we started looking for our entry confirmation early this New York session. So this was the New York session lows, or the London session lows. We respected off this entire support zones. We started having the bounce towards the upside. Look what happens over here. We came out and we finally broke above all of these entire structure. You see this? We broke above these entire previous structure, which is going to be in this case these previous highs. So I just want you guys to notice the market structure and why it's very important to understand market structure. And with trading, I wouldn't really say that you need to understand, the basic stuff, but right, not the basic stuff. And with trading doesn't really mean that you have to understand what is a fair value gap, all of these entire things. With trading, you have to understand pretty much every single concept, right? So this is why trading is a very hard skill, because you really need to understand a lot of things to actually have confirmations, to really understand what market structure can start doing, right? So in this case over here, what I mean by that is that you guys need to understand how to properly read the market structure, when to understand that the market is going to start having the shift of structure. Years ago, probably me, just because price action rejected off this, I'm probably going to be looking for a sell to retest this entire broken structure. So I probably would have lost this trade years ago because I was not really focusing on what was happening on the higher time frame, right? So that's why it's important. Once we started building this up, notice what we build up right over here, these two candles. These two candles here are fair value gaps, right? We had the impulse move towards the upside with a huge gap between all of these levels. So once we formed this new highs over here, which was the London highs, notice how during London we were kind of consolidating during the early New York session, and then price action came back to the first fair value gap, which is these zones over here on the 15-minute time frame. Notice how we started bouncing off from these levels. 1 point, and we also started bouncing off from these points over here as well, rejecting off the VWAP. So notice how the VWAP at 1 point, it was above these candles, selling opportunities, broke above it, now holding underneath, showing us buyer opportunities, right? So very simple. What are the confirmation? We're still rejecting off the support. We have the broken structure. This right here is the broken structure. This over here confirmed us that buyers are slowly stepping into the markets. Now, what is the only thing that we're waiting for? We're just waiting for price action to come back and fill up all of these entire fair value gaps. Very simple. So at this point over here, during the early New York session, this is exactly where I started noticing that buyers were slowly stepping into the markets, right? So very simple. In the live call today, I had these two levels marked up, and we're currently trading around these levels. This is where I told everyone, hey, I'm going to be setting up a buy limit in around this broken structure, and I'm also going to be setting up a buy limit underneath this exact demand zone, or the fair value gap, and my stop loss was placed underneath this exact fair value gap. If my stop loss would have gotten hit, then this shows over here that we were wrong with the analysis, right? So my stop loss was placed at the invalidation zone. So we respected this fair value gap, and we also respected this fair value gap. My entry was this candle right over here. So you guys can see this candle. This candle over here was already showing us that there was a lot of buying pressure. This right here. So notice how the candles are slowly wicking towards the upside, right? So we had the push, we had the first bounce, we also have the other bounce. The seller candles over here, these candles are the selling opportunity that is pushing the market downwards, is slowly dying off, showing us that sellers are no longer interested in selling the market around these levels, right? So it's not only market structure, you guys also need to understand these candlestick formation, right? What do these candlestick each means, right? So all of these entire candle wicks towards the upside, or all these candle wicks towards the downside, is rejecting, is simply, grabbing liquidity. So once we closed out this big candle right here, which was at 9:45, once we closed out above these entire areas of interest, that's exactly where I set up my limit. So my limit was set at the 39.72, which is this broken structure, and a little bit lower to retest this 15-minute fair value gap, which is at the 39.70. So notice how perfectly price action activate our buy limit, went instantly in profit. So if we go back here into the 5-minute time frame, this is exactly where it activates. So it activates from this candle, and the second candle over here instantly activate the market, and notice how we perfectly target back above these highs over here, which was during the London session. So all of this in here is the London session highs. Perfectly played out, closed out this position at a 1-3 risk to reward, which was a full take profit. So this trade we got active at 10:05, and we ended up closing out this trade at 11:05. So it was like an hour trade that we hold on for a while, which was an hour, right? We end up hitting every single take profit faster though. The all the take profit was hit in less than 5 minutes. Less than 5 minutes, we end up hitting every single take profit, which is great. And then obviously we just end up closing out our position above these entire, London highs. Now I also had a sell plan, right? I also had a sell opportunity plan, which did play out very nice, but I was not interested in taking the sells due to the fact that we already got the profit that we needed. But the sell was simply, the push towards this entire 4 hour broken structure, right? If you notice the 4 hour, we have this entire gap towards the downside that broke underneath this entire 4 hour structure, right? Which obviously price action needs to come back to fill it up to see if obviously it holds, right? Which it did exactly what I planned, which was the sell limit that I was interested in. Notice how it worked it out perfectly and dropped towards the downside. So if I would have taken this sell here, this would have been another profit. This would have been another 400 pip profit with gold. Would have been insane. But this setup that we took today was very, very simple. It was just simply react and adapt with the market condition and just understanding how to find these entire key zones, right? So this was the setup that I took today, the setup that made me over $10,000, right? So we took the sell position here and we also took the buy position over here. 2 trades there. We end up closing out the day over $10,000 in profit. In my personal account, I did make over $1,200 in total for the day, which is still great. $1,200 with both of these trades here, which was somewhere between, I believe, like $500, $600 per each trade that I made today, which was great. But this was the setup that I took today, guys. I hope you guys enjoyed this video and understand exactly every setup that I took. If you guys were in the live call, perfect. You guys caught this trade live. If you weren't, we're going to still trade live the next week. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Peace.